Welcome to the Agency Journey Podcast, where we connect with agency leaders to uncover the hidden systems and processes that drive their success. Now, let's dive into today's show.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Agency Journey. This is Gray McKenzie, and this week I've got the pleasure of bringing on Melissa Rosenthal, who is the Chief Creative Officer at ClickUp. So it's been a little while since we've had ClickUp on the program. We had Zeb Evans on about a year ago, talking about some of ClickUp's vision and traction and go-to-market. So Melissa, I'm excited to have you on and talk about a lot of the creative things that you all are up to right now. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Excited to share.
So maybe real quickly, just by way of intro, I know you've got a background at BuzzFeed and at Cheddar prior to joining ClickUp. You're probably around 9 months in, but maybe you could just give us a quick background on kind of your career trajectory and what brought you to ClickUp.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started at BuzzFeed very early. I was the 9th employee there. So it was kind of like the Wild West of the internet days when everyone was trying to figure out modeling and kind of what would make sense. But I believed in it as the future of media. So I joined as an intern, actually, and kind of worked my way up to oversee the global creative department. Hundreds of people globally. We expanded into different countries. It was an amazing and wild ride. And the brand became pretty famous and well known, and it was really exciting. And not having any experience in advertising or marketing, it was like a fast tracked course into kind of understanding like all of the different kind of elements of what marketing and creative looked like, and working with external agencies as well as media agencies, and buying media, and it was pretty fascinating. So I feel like that was my crash course in kind of everything, media and marketing related, and creative.
That's awesome. And then how did you get connected to ClickUp originally?
Yeah. So after BuzzFeed, went to Cheddar, built that, and then we sold it. And then I was taking some time off to figure out what I wanted to do next, and was building like a small SaaS company with my husband. It was kind of right place, right time. I had heard of ClickUp, and I was very familiar with the project management space and the productivity space. I'd worked in pretty much every program, and had my frustrations with all of them. So it was when ClickUp reached out to me, I immediately was like, this is a kind of a rocket ship of a company, and they're solving a problem that I've been experienced for many years. And it was kind of like a no-brainer in terms of product. And once I got really into the product, I just saw how powerful it was, and was pretty amazed at what Zeb and team had built, and how they'd scaled it, and what the organic growth looked like. So it was that, and a mix of a lot of other things that led me here. A lot of the community that had been built around ClickUp just by means of how amazing the product was, and how passionate people were about it, and how they would go, to the end of the earth to shout it from the rooftops to tell other people. And this kind of like viral coefficient and this organic engine that was, a big part of their growth was just really, really interesting to me. And I'd always wanted to go into software. So I felt for a brand and a product that kind of felt different in market. This was something I wanted to jump on, and really, help build out, especially on the brand side.
Well, you touched on a huge part of the ClickUp story, which was all organic growth for a number of years as they got going. Obviously, the company as a whole is still super young, but that was kind of the whole story of initial growth, was that virality and sharing of the platform largely.
Yeah.
You guys have obviously taken a shift in that direction here and ramped things up over the past year. So what the creative department today, I am trying to remember, maybe you're 16 or 17 different folks.
Yeah, we're about 20 across the whole
about
team.
20 now.
Yep.
Has all of that been built? So what was the state when you joined? And then maybe bring us just through the state today and some of the things that you're focused on.
Yeah. When I joined, I believe there were 3 people, maybe 4. So it was very early. I'd seen what they were doing in creative, and I just saw this like blue sky opportunity to build a best in class, like creative, internal agency within the company. And what that allows you to do to be kind of, vertically integrated is, the product better. The team knows the product better. You're able to operate on and fire on all cylinders. There's visibility within what's being created and what the outcome is, and the KPIs and kind of the data sharing. And also you're able to take risks. So, Zeb and I were aligned on kind of what the vision would be, and the North Star of making this brand feel human and personifying the product, and not just pushing features, but talking to people as they are people, and not just even in a B2B model. The best type of branding is when you're speaking to people. So with a consumer approach. So the North Star is to make the brand feel human, and every touch point that a person has or a business has feels that way. So now the state of the team is we're 20 people, as I mentioned. We oversee kind of everything across content and anything that is a piece of collateral that comes out of my team. So video, design, community, social. We kind of are constantly events. We're constantly trying to push ourselves and push the marketing and push the brand and really make the brand famous to the right people. And that I think there's a way to do that through really just understanding your audience and building things that people enjoy, and attaching yourselves to things that are relevant and happening in the world of what you want to be a part of.
How do you primarily measure that? Like, are we achieving that goal of making the brand feel human, getting the word out there?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of social listening, of course. So, when people write in and, it's also, I think there's a lot of pieces to it. So it's product, it's, it's customer service, it's marketing, it's engineer, it's everything that kind of goes into that. So I wouldn't say it's just isolated to the brand or isolated to the creative team, but, that to be able to do that, you see it across social, you see the response, you see the ROI and what you're delivering. People start to mention you in sales meetings in terms of being the best in class at doing X and Y and Z. And it becomes this point of differentiation as a company. And when you have multiple points of differentiation between best in class customer service, best in class social visibility, best in class advertising and creative, best in class product, you really start to do that. So it's not one team or one person or it's the entire company firing on all cylinders. But you start to see it in market. People write in every day how amazing the customer service team is, or how awesome the ads are, and the fact that they search for them, or they saw ClickUp on a billboard and then they told their boss about it. So it's measuring on a lot of different ways. Specifically, it's both quantitative and qualitative. Based on kind of how we're measuring and what we need to see and kind of how we measure that.
Which one do you hear more frequently? I hear a handful of things that people see about ClickUp, but most commonly I hear they have billboards everywhere. I was watching the game, or I was at the subway, or I was wherever, and I feel like I can't get away from ClickUp. That's happened a number of times. I'll talk to somebody and they reach out to us for agency operations help. They don't know about ClickUp. We talk about ClickUp and they're like, I can't unsee it. It's everywhere. But then the other thing that we hear about, and I'm sure you hear about this all the time, is the Returning to Work series and some of the creative videos that you all have done.
Yeah.
Which one do you hear more comments about?
It's kind of equal now.
Yeah.
The video team did like a fantastic job on that series, and they came up with it and pitched it to me. And then, I was pretty on board. I think it's a once in kind of a cultural moment where you can just synonymously attach yourself to work as a whole by relating to people's, the reality of what we're doing in a way that makes it a little bit more lighthearted. But we can attach ourselves to, we can't deal with the awkwardness of returning back, but we can handle all of your productivity. So it was pretty much a no-brainer to do that, and just to bring people joy during what could be a stressful time, and kind of giving them that laugh, but then also saying we have you in terms of your workflow and the way you want to work. So that was I hear that a lot, and it's amazing, and the team is just ecstatic about the responses and the reception to that. And then the billboards, I'm a huge believer in out of home. I always have been. I think a type of advertising that you can't skip. You can't, you can't have automated by bots for views, and you are able to hyper target based on where you want to be and who's around that area. I think it's just, it's super powerful, and it makes you look, enormous. So it's a touch point on a customer journey. But I'm a big fan of the medium. So yeah, it's a mix of, we see your ads and we love them, and we also see all your billboards and they're all over. And that's a kind of a perfect mix of I think smart branding.
Right. Well, you brought up one other thing. You brought up social listening earlier, and you are all over Twitter. It seems like you see everything on there. I mean, I'm sure you're all over all the socials. What's your social platform of choice? If you didn't have to,
Twitter and LinkedIn.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, Twitter is incredible for listening and responding to real customers and people. And our approach has been, not only responding from the account, but we have, people that are on the team that are passionate about the community and want to be in touch with them and like speak with real people. And I think when you do that, again, it's like this really incredible point of differentiation, because having real employees jump in is just powerful. And then, yeah, LinkedIn, I love just because it's kind of this incredible organic media engine that I think some people do really well. But as a company, there's lots of really interesting things that you can do there. So I'm a big fan of that platform too.
well, it's a little more tactical or granular, but it's super common to see you or Chris or Zeb or somebody on the ClickUp team jump in. ClickUp support has already, or the ClickUp response team has already handled from a social perspective, whatever the comment might be. But you all will jump on it. How does that get coordinated? What platforms are you using to help keep that in place? And then is that just kind of do you guys block time each day to do that? Or is that just hey, this happens to be part of what we do?
I mean, it's a mix. So we definitely have a Slack channel where we kind of go back and forth on certain tweets or certain comments. But it's really, again, it's like passion. Like we're all looking through it. I block time on my calendar to go through tweets in the morning and then in the afternoon and then at night. And then, I'll check sporadically throughout the day. And same thing with LinkedIn and kind of everything that kind of mentions us. We use Sprout as our tool of choice, but it goes way beyond Sprout. Like a lot of the coordination is really just kind of having, me and the social team and Chris and Zeb just, caring about the community and not, letting the size of the company influence our ability to step in and have those real interactions. So yeah, it's a mix of Slack and just blocking our time to make sure it's a priority, because it is.
The other thing that has become a larger part, at least from the outside of the go-to-market strategy, has been paid ads, social. I'm sure you're running search as well, but especially on social. How has that evolved? And has that been I guess in terms of channels, how's that work for customer acquisition?
Yeah, I mean, we're scaling up across a lot of different channels. The things that have worked for us in the past, they you can continue to spend more, but you want to find efficiencies in other places. So yeah, we've scaled up our YouTube, our Facebook, our social in general. And with an in-house video team and creative team, we're able to create ads and motion graphics. We're able to create ads pretty much in real time, test a ton of different variations, see what's working, what's not working, iterate on those ads, next day, and then put them into market. So there's kind of this really incredible life cycle that we have of being able to ramp and spend, but understand what's working and what we need to pivot. And having predictive modeling in house and data warehouse is really helpful for that. Same thing with podcasts. So it's I mean, we're certainly ramping up our spend, but we're doing it. Anyone can spend money, but few people can do it well. So it's an art and a science, I would say.
That makes sense. We just had Troy Osinoff from Juice on the podcast, who followed you at BuzzFeed, ran customer acquisition there for a little while, digging into some of the paid ad side. So been interesting to see all the channels kind of ramp up here, coinciding with obviously the funding received last year and you coming on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's been awesome to see. What is that? So internally, this is more of not a personal question, but we'll see how far you want to go with this question. How has the relationship with Zeb and with the rest of the exec team at ClickUp been around pushing forward some of the ideas and campaigns and types of go-to-market strategies that you've been pushing?
Yeah, I mean, Zeb's great to work with. He believes in building brand and building a strong brand, and having that be your legacy, because anyone can kind of do this to acquire customers, but when you build a brand, you're building a brand for 20 years and not a brand for the next 3 years. So we're pretty well aligned there. And, a lot of the sentiment has been, let's take big bets and let's make sure we're measuring them and we're iterating when we need to. So, it's kind of like figuring that balance out. But yeah, it's as long as we're able to measure and then figure out what's working and pull the levers, in a smart and efficient way. It's been pretty, it's been a great way of being able to test big things and go big. And I think, you never know what's going to hit. You never know when you're going to have something that just goes crazy and people pick it up and they love it, and they share it, and they talk about it, and it wins us accounts. And I think that's just it's continuing to do that. It's emotion. It's the same thing we did at BuzzFeed. It's every day. It was trying to break platforms, figure out what would work for us. And, you do it enough, you have enough wins, and all of a sudden, you go from a company that I had to explain to people what we did to becoming, a household name where people just couldn't believe that I worked there. So, I think I'm starting to see that effect here, where ClickUp's becoming that more of that household name, especially within, work productivity. And I think we're only going to go up from there. So yeah, I mean, it's being able to measure it, of course, and that's really important. So whatever idea we have, it's like, okay, let's figure out how much does this cost to execute? How do we want to execute it? But we're really cost efficient with having the team in house. So, we don't have to go out to an agency and spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars or be on a retainer to be able to execute, creative and kind of thought provoking ideas around the space, and what really allows us to be different.
You mentioned something about brand, and a number of people talk about brand. Did Cancel at Drift talked about brand being, here's the big moat. Who are some of this is one of I've got two kind of final questions here. But who are some of the folks who are shaping the way that you are thinking about building the brand at ClickUp? And by at ClickUp, I mean how your role building the brand at ClickUp.
Yeah.
External.
I mean, there's a lot of it's kind of a mix of who's doing what best in class, I would say. It's definitely not my playbook is not let me see what everyone else is doing and kind of help shape that. It's a lot centered around human emotion, which is something I learned early days is, the best way to connect with people. I would say there are a lot of companies doing a lot of different things well, HubSpot built an incredible education, platform. And right. I would say they did that incredibly smart in an incredibly smart way. And became very well known for it. And I would say there's others in the space that are kind of doing the same. But in terms of and I'm always paying attention to those companies. But I would say in terms of what, really sets us apart is that we're not following. We're kind of trying to lead the way with that and taking little pieces of inspiration along the way. But it's, there's a lot of consumer companies that inspire me too. I think, they built a community. And I think the companies that have built that community are the ones that, we look to follow, because it's why have they built that community? I mean, Webflow's done an incredible job of it too. And, they have that really great human relationship with their customers and their businesses. And it's very evident across social and the way that they even poke fun at themselves with Webflow memes. They're great. And I think there's a lot that you can take from pieces of and chunks of companies like that to form your own strategy and your own experience too.
Right. That's awesome. And then you all just officially moved into the new San Diego office. How's that? How's the move-in going?
It's awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're moved in. So I would say being in person, especially as a creative person, there's no way to kind of replicate that on Zoom. It's not the same as going into a room on a whiteboard with a bunch of people and brainstorming in real time and fixing a problem in 5 minutes. You can't do that over Zoom. So fully support a hybrid and remote work culture. But I'd say being creative and building brand, it's much easier to do that in person. And, sometimes you're just sitting around eating lunch together and you come up with an idea that's just wow, that's the idea. So I think there's a lot of kind of the passive benefits of being around other people and that energy that you can't replicate. So yeah, it's going really well. It's an amazing office. We're right outside the Padres Stadium. So there's a nice work perk there. And, we go to games all the time as a company and as teams. And yeah, it's great. It's been an amazing thing to see all these amazing people that I've worked with over Zoom in real life.
That's awesome. Well, I know we are tight on time, but I appreciate you coming on, giving us the inside look and allowing us to dig into some of what's driving.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd say that the most exciting part is, we've made a lot of progress over the past year, but it's day one for us. It's always day one. And I think if you can always keep that mentality, the sky is the limit. Like we have very high beliefs in this company and what we can, what we can do here and the way that we can transform work. And it's it doesn't happen overnight, but there's a lot of hiring the best in class people that are excited to build this and, really can rally around it. Yeah, it's amazing. So the culture here is really special, and so that contributes a lot to it as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anything else, Melissa, as we're wrapping up here?
No, I would say just stay tuned. We have a lot of really incredible ideas and concepts and creative and marketing and branding opportunities that we're working on right now, and a big event we're about to launch. So stay tuned for that. And no, it's been great chatting, and looking forward to you seeing kind of what we do next.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on, being willing to share.
Thanks for listening to the Agency Journey podcast. Visit agencyjourneyinsiders.com to join the podcast community and be sure to subscribe for future episodes.